Yeah. Fire 716, your boy Big Frank. You're locked into Big Frank in the morning. Good morning, good afternoon. You're locked in the room with my homeboy, Daniel the Dark Knight, the provider, Kev on air, and Jay Shari. Listen, it's been a long time since the Valid had a dope beat to step to. Huh? I'm just saying that it's, the room is full. We have a special guest, author Dion Brinson is here as well, rocking out with us. How you doing today, sir?
Doing great.
Good, good. Listen, how was y'all yesterday? Matter of fact, how was y'all before? how was y'all before today? Is the question I have.
My before yesterday was cool. Just got stuff done. Work don't stop.
No, valid, for sure. Jay Shari?
I almost walked out of one of my classes.
No, that's valid. That's valid.
I was really like, yo, these fees for being a therapist is gonna be mad high. Like my teacher is definitely a parent. The one girl asked the question, she was like, sir, I'm considering getting my doctorate.
Yeah.
How long did it take you? Instead of being like, my role was easy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my role was challenging. It took me 10 years. He took the scenic route. I don't need to know that you were 21 and you hated your professors. I just need you to answer this question.
How many years?
Like to just get. He was just like, Jessica, how do you feel about that? I feel like it's time to go. Like my practicum is practicuming, and that's it. Like,
absolutely.
So yesterday I was like totally reconsidering.
I dig it.
Yesterday I was like, you know what, life coaching may be it.
How's your time been in the city, in the region, since you're here?
It feels good. I haven't been here in a couple of years, so to be back, to go out and see family and friends has been awesome.
Good stuff. The week has been full. If I can get, I want to tell it, but I also don't want anybody to go to jail. The week has been full. Okay.
Was it an extension of the weekend?
Of the weekend, yeah. For those who don't know, I'll give you some bullet points. Pistols, gangsters, thugs, bars. Like Frank, where were you? I was home. But there's just it was a lot. That was emotional. But outside of that, I was in class yesterday and realized that the business is truly a reflection of myself, and I got to get myself together. And I was just like, Father, I thought I was doing proper. I thought I was doing well. But in result, there's things to work on. I was just like, God. It was like, you're not so bubbly today. He's checking me. Okay. This class is about successful in business, but he's checking me.
Yeah.
And I'm toiling between how to execute this season, because I the way I executed last season isn't applied to this season. Yeah. It is just different. It's just different. So, but I'm in good spirits. God gonna do what he's gonna do. He's gonna get it done. Do me a favor, make sure you put the number at the bottom of the screen. We're getting ready to get into a good intense. I'm excited for this conversation.
We've been advertising for a couple of days.
I
was like, yo, what are we getting ready to really get into?
Because I just believe that this I can't say this is generation. This reveal of the point of views and the concepts of relationship is just crazy. And the diversity of opinions and thoughts and ideas and things that people have been thinking about. I won't even say that they're new thoughts. They've been thinking about this, but didn't have a platform or outlet to express it. And now that they're expressing it, it just sounds crazy. So we're going to get into the story. The author and pastor and the prophet, all these things, Dion Brinson wrote a book called Infected Love. Tell us about that book and how it got started. And
yeah, sure. Infected Love. I probably wrote that probably about 7 years ago now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I've had it for a while. It stemmed from, people going through their relationships, and I deal with the stages of how people's relationships get torn up. And there's 4 stages of infection.
Yeah.
And I go through those 4 stages, and I use it concerning relationships of what happens.
Yeah. Wow. Now, here we go. Because
that's good.
Okay. Now 2 points in the poem. We got 4 stages of infection. So you said there's a storyline that goes that starts with the story. When it comes down to you writing this book, you want to get into that for us?
Yeah, sure. The storyline doesn't necessarily go to this book, but I do deal with pain inside of this book.
Yes.
The storyline is actually connected to my second book that I'm writing now. I was in Chicago. I travel, with my business, And so I was in Chicago for about probably 2 months. And I was at a hotel in Bloomington. So that's about 2.5 hours away from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed there 2.5 months. I'm a Bills fan, diehard Bills fan. I had Bill gear on every single day.
Right.
There was in Chicago or in Bloomington, there was a huge Buffalo Bills poster. Every day I went to eat lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, who is the Bills fan here? And finally they came out and says, let me introduce you to the biggest Bills fan. And I went, it was the general manager of the hotel.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
And
sweet.
I was like, do you live in Buffalo? No. Have you ever lived in Buffalo? No.
Wow.
I'm just a fan of the Buffalo Bills.
That's sweet.
So one day I was sitting out on the terrace having lunch. It was a beautiful day. And she came out and she, wanted to smoke her cigarette, and she says, hey, how you doing? She says, all right, if I smoke my cigarette? I was like, sure, go right ahead. She sat down and she began to talk. And I began to ask her, how did you become a Bills fan?
Yeah.
She says, well, I've been to every stadium in the United States.
Wow.
Wow.
She's a diehard. She loved football.
Yeah.
And she says, I followed the Bills every stadium they've gone to. And I said, well, I fly back home. I said, I live in Birmingham. I fly back home to see a game every year.
Right.
I said, if it's closer, I'll drive to Tennessee or Florida to go see it. And I said, so when was the last time you've been? And she said, it's been 12 years since I've been to a game
Wow.
in Buffalo. She's been to other games. I said, why 12 years? She says, well, my last game, second to the last game that she went to in Buffalo, the game ended. Her and her husband was getting ready to go home. She said, we were standing at a light. And while we were at that light, she says, I could see it in slow motion. There was a car coming behind me that wasn't going to stop.
Oh, wow.
She says there were a few cars in front of her, so she couldn't go anywhere. She said that car hit her from behind at full speed.
Oh,
Wow.
man.
She said her husband was okay. She said she thought she was okay. So she went to work. That was the weekend, Monday. She went to work. She said, but when she got to work, she wasn't feeling well.
Yeah.
She felt sick. And all of a sudden, she said that she thought she was going to at least make it to lunch. But she almost passed out.
Wow.
They rushed her to the hospital and let her know that they had to do emergency surgery on her.
Oh,
let her know that if you had not gotten here, you would have died.
Yeah.
So all of the internal damage that was done to her body, her organs and different things like that.
Yeah.
So she was explaining to me, I've had 78 surgeries.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, wait a minute, how does somebody even have
12
78
years.
surgeries? Yes.
Wow.
She said, I'm in 3 weeks, I'm going for my 79th.
Oh, my Lord.
So I said, well, she says, when it first happened, she says, I didn't want to live. She says, because I was in so much pain until there was no way for me to function normally. She couldn't work. She says, I had to learn how to write again. I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to lay in my bed.
Oh,
so I was like, what made you want to live? She says, I didn't want to live.
Wow.
So she says, I went through therapy. It didn't help. She says, I did everything I possibly could do. She says, through everything. Now, I'm big on therapy. Seeing a therapist, somebody that's professional, is very important.
Yeah.
She says, but that didn't help her. I said, well, what helped you? She says, I got a puppy. I said, what?
Right.
She says, I got a puppy. And she says that puppy made me have to get up every day.
Yeah.
She says, if I didn't feed it, it would starve.
Yeah.
If I didn't get up to take it to the bathroom, it was going to mess up her house.
Right.
So she said that began to make her, get up and try to live.
Right.
She says, but the biggest thing is that she had to relearn to do everything in her life again.
Wow.
So she never came back to a Bills game. She said she went to one, was sitting in the theater, and she began to holler and scream, and her friends had to rush her out of there.
Oh, man.
It triggered something because of the accident.
Yeah.
PTSD.
And she didn't know how to get past that.
Wow.
So my thing is that I asked her one question. I said, you're so strong. I'm watching you now, and you're in pain every day. Another thing she told me, she says, Dion, she says, the doctor said that I won't live long. She says, because of my heart. She said, I don't have heart problems. I don't have high blood pressure. She says, but because of the pain that I'm in, it causes her heart to pump so hard because of when the pain hit, her blood pressure goes so high. They said her heart is probably going to give out or explode before she's 60.
Oh, wow.
All right. Living every day like that.
That's terrible.
So I said, how do you do it? And she made this statement that caught my attention. She says, pain doesn't bother me until it hurts. And I was like, whoa, I was stumped for a second. She said, that's my motto. She says, pain doesn't bother me until it hurts. And I said, I don't get it. She says, I literally had to learn how to redo everything to avoid pain. The way I write, she says, I can't hold pens regular because of it hurts when I hold a pen a certain way.
Oh, man.
I can't feed myself regularly. I can't walk regularly. I can't lay in the bed. So she says, I have tried to adjust to learning how to maneuver everything to avoid pain. It made me think, how many of us have been hit, whiplashed, traumatized in our lives, in our relationships, whether it's divorce, cheating, separation, abuse? What happened to you to where it has caused you to live totally different than what you live? You're a happy person, but now you're not happy.
No,
you're smiling because of you've adjusted to that pain. But on the inside, you tore up. Right. So that was my thing, is how many of us are saying the same thing? All right. Pain doesn't bother me until it hurts.
No valid. For sure.
And that's what I want to talk about.
And I think that we the storyline in comparison to relationships, I think that's what we do. We don't necessarily, I think we're better now with, like you said, with therapy. We don't always dive and dig into the trauma or the triggers that get us to readjust. We just readjust it. We don't change, so that we approach things a little bit different, but we never really dealt with the details and the depths of that trauma, which is crazy, which is parallel to the class I was just in yesterday, because it requires you to deal with how you've been handling things, how you've been navigating and moving. One thing you said in your conversation was there's four aspects of infection, which you talk about in the book. What is the first one? What is the first?
The first stage is incubation. All right. A lot of us don't understand, so it's an entrance point. We don't know most of the time how it happened, just like infection. Most of us don't know when we got that cold.
Right.
We think because we have the signs that we just picked it up. When you've actually picked that up probably 3 weeks prior.
Right.
Absolutely.
And now the signs have developed enough for you to see them.
No, for sure. Do you have any comments? Anybody comment?
No, people just coming in.
Yeah. I think that when we start talking about the infection phase, how it happened, I think that we tend to forget to a degree. It's like, oh, I didn't know that was the cause of this, because, like you said, with the cold, you say we only get we don't know we got a cold until we got the symptoms. We don't know that, oh, dang, I was outside this day at this time. That's just when I got it. But we get the coughing, the nose get the running, and what we do is we end up treating the symptoms of a thing versus actually digging into the cause of it.
Right.
And I think that even right now in relationships, I hear like on TikTok and on these things, what I hear is we keep addressing symptoms and we keep trying to and not dealing with how did we get here? Like why is, and I'm not knocking different points of views, but why do you think this way? What happened in your storyline to make you believe that you need this kind of man or that kind of woman? You got to have this, or you don't accept this or that. And these factors change, but oftentimes it's just like, hey, let's get to the root cause. And one question I ask all the time is, what's the why? Right. Not just your actions, but why did we get here? Like, what happened?
But a lot of people don't take the accountability of asking that question until there's a cycle of bad relationships. When you become the common denominator, then it's kind of just like, oh, well, what is it about me? And I've heard this a lot, even with like talking to young girls. It was like, oh, he didn't do this, he didn't do this, or this didn't work, and I was like, but what is it about you.
Yeah.
That's attracting these type of men. I was like, what's the pheromone you giving out?
What's the pheromone?
Because let's just be honest. We are grown at this table. Men can sense desperation. They can sense thirstiness, and they can sense when you're broken and just look at somebody to fill the void. So it was like we as women sometimes project this. And then we wonder why we keep getting the same kind of man in different forms. It was like, well, there's broken areas in your life right now, and you're just looking for a filler. Right. So he came in as a filler, and then you got mad that he filled, and then left. Like so, dealing with the internal, and what is it in the areas that you're broken in, or you may be dealing with that you projecting on your relationship.
Well, and I think that same thing is even you speak from the woman's perspective, even for men, we do the same thing. Like, hey. You're used. Forget us. Call it what it is.
Yeah.
That we know what we need and desire, but you are a filler for certain areas.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say this. I mean, I like it. I don't approve it, but sometimes that's where we get multiple individuals because you're not a filler of all things.
Valid.
You're good. I think I'm married now. I got kids. I love my wife. This is past life. To be very clear. But I have certain people which are you're good just for a good time, not necessarily sexually, but just if I want to go out and dance and I want to go do, you're fun to be around and you're good for that. You may catch feelings, you may do these things, but I'm not really seeing a intellectual conversation. I'm not seeing heavy. We good for a good time. Yeah. But then there's somebody else who's like, hey, you satisfying this sexual pocket for me. That's good. Then somebody else is talking about. When I want to have a deep conversation and tap in spiritually and go there with the Lord, I talk to you. So now I have this plethora of that, but not realizing that in my own personal life, I really got the void.
Right.
I got the emptiness. And I don't necessarily always know how it started, when it started, because we don't always do that thing called discovery. Right. On the backside of it. If you're listening, the phone line is open. Feel free to call in. 716-205.
She just said good morning.
8136. My name is good. But listen, we're having a conversation with author Dion Brinson, and just getting into this book, Infected Love, and deals with the pain. And one of the pains that we talked about right now is just that phase called in the incubation phase. And I think like, hey, how did this start? And one thing about this is that even with the Lord and just evolving, because we talk relationships, man and woman, but that affects relationship, mother, father, sister. Right. Like this is all around, and that you can't be told nothing, can't nobody do nothing because there's been an infection at some point. And I guess now is the time to figure out how did this get here? Yeah. What happened? And I'll say this: some things we don't know is trauma. Yeah. Right. In the moment, we just was raised this way.
That's it.
We don't know that this is where this started from. We just raised this way, and we just live in our life, and this guided our life. But when we take a look back, that was traumatic.
I found out something in relationships, because men and women, we operate differently. Right. There's a lot that happens in relationships for men. Women may not pay attention to it, but because we're egotistic, there's a lot of things that bothers us. Think about a man that's a good man that works hard, that provides, that's there, and then he's never hearing that. He may not have everything, but all he hears is you don't do this.
Come on,
don't do that. You don't do this, and not understanding that you begin to actually break down your relationship because of the way we operate.
Valid. Right.
All right. So if we're in a relationship, our thing is that we almost have to have someone that's going to be our cheerleader. Because that's our makeup. All right. Yeah. So if you're not doing that and that's our makeup, that's an entrance.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's an entrance. You may not want to believe it, but that's an entrance for somebody else to come in and tell you or your man, since we're talking about relationships, to tell your man how good he really is.
Right.
You telling him he's stupid all the time. You don't know how to do anything. But when he walk out that door and go to work, there's somebody else saying that, you know what?
It's somebody at the workplace.
If I know what to do with you. Yeah. And see, this is everywhere. I remember when I was in Atlanta, man, I'm doing all I can for church. And I mean, I was one of the main elders at this church. But I've been married, before. But so not my wife now, but my another wife I had, if I could put it that way.
Yeah.
What happened with that is that they saw how she treated me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember not paying attention. I'm loyal.
Mm-hmm.
You busy.
I'm busy.
Yeah.
I know.
But then
doing
all of
the
a
right
sudden,
thing.
somebody comes up to me and said, "Listen, I see how she treats you.
You wasn't even thinking about it.
I know how to treat you.
Yeah.
I can take care of you if you ever." And you know, it's
right. That's it. Oh, you got me.
All she was missing was a plate.
Now listen, I didn't take the offer.
Right.
But it stumped me and it made me think, man, if they can see it, why can't you? You live with me every day.
Because
Yeah.
comfortability is a killer.
And I say
Comfortability
this,
is a real killer.
and I'm gonna add to it because you talk about, you know, that entrance, and it could be a person, but also a place.
Yeah.
Because if the place, and this is why I get it. This is how sometimes the church becomes a mistress, because at the church, you the powerhouse, you the preacher, these things, they see this powerful element,
Right.
and they give you praise and accolades. And at home,
Mm-hmm.
it's you get the what you don't do.
I'm Daniel at home.
Valid, but for sure.
Deacon,
But if there no valid, but if there is no affection or there's no accolades at home, you get I'm gonna go where I'm appreciated.
That's a fact.
And also to valid to no, but valid, but that's true. But because of the lack of that exchange of the highlights, and I get it, especially when you're a man and you're trying, and you're trying, like, it's not that I'm out here just on your couch not doing. I am working. I am trying to balance. I'm trying to create the now and the future. Yeah. And it's like I'm trying to build something. And I'm not tasking you for too much crazy.
Right.
I'm really trying to work it, and then not getting. Okay, you keep talking about what I'm not doing.
Right.
But you ain't mentioning.
You blind? You gotta be blind. Because I'm doing more than what you're saying. I'm not.
As a woman who has been in a relation, like a long-term relationship before, the last mistake. No, because I invested. You know, I seriously invested in this person, staying up all night with him, helping him with business proposals, encouraging him, you know, even in his weight loss journey, like helping him in that process. You got this, you good. You know, your leaders, because he was not feeling appreciated by his leadership. And it was like, but as long as you do what God, like being that woman, and it was just like one moment. One moment where I wasn't able to be there because I was operating, and it was a problem. It was just like, the moment I needed you, I've been with you every 99 other moments, but when I had to do something for God, it was just like, I know where you get ready to go. But like for me, it was just like this one moment where I was fully operating what I was doing, and then it started to be, well, you don't talk to me enough. Then now you don't do it, and I'm like, dude, I'm on the phone with you every it became a problem. So I feel like this happens on both sides, where if there is comfortability. That's why I said comfortability kills relationships. But if it's like, if I'm working all day and I still get home and I still cook and I still was able to, you know, take care of this, but I wasn't able to do laundry. Why? You can't do laundry. Dude, I did everything else. There has to be a point where you have appreciation. Like one of my friends posted on her Facebook, she was like, October is Appreciate Your Man Month. I didn't even know that.
Me either.
I thought it was something else.
I was like, I didn't even know. Like, I was like, maybe it's made up. I don't know, but like, I didn't even know like there was that kind of space, because I feel like when you're in a relationship, each person should always feel appreciated. It shouldn't take a month. That you like, this is the month I'm gonna treat my
valid.
man.
It should not take one special
Sweetest
day.
Day and Valentine's Day should not be the days that you decide to appreciate each other.
Fact.
Like y'all should be appreciating each other
Frank,
all the time.
In my own reality, do not subscribe to these holidays. In my wife's world,
I do it for the love of them. That's it.
But I was going to say something, because what happens sometimes is, as men, we can talk about it lightly, but it may not affect it aggressively. But there's some moments where it becomes overwhelming, and in that moment, I don't need nothing else negative. No, I don't need nothing else negative. I literally, and I'll be honest, stopped the conversation because I just couldn't afford to risk anything negative, because I'm already overwhelmed. I don't, not that I'm at my breaking point, but I'm not in the mood to cry. I can't. There's already enough things happening in my world that is causing frustration, that for a negative comment in this moment would just break me, especially from the one who said she loved me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Just
man.
I just can't have that dialogue. So when you get into that, the conversation, the empowerment matters at home.
Yeah,
And it's important. And I won't get too caught up with it. We can stay right there and just
Listen,
like, hey,
what?
I do want to
Go ahead.
right there, and then if you guys,
No,
I
you're right.
can go to the next stage, or
Yeah,
if you
but-
have something to say,
Go ahead.
But on the woman's side, men have to learn how to cater to their emotions.
Yeah.
That part.
All right. It's very important. A lot of times, we leave them starved.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And
Testify.
this is both sides. So I have to deal with both sides.
Yeah.
That's real.
Because it's a relationship, it's a partnership,
Partnership.
It's, together thing.
Right.
So we leave them starved emotionally. A lot of times we are going through. I'm a man.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times we are going through some crazy challenges.
Yeah.
All right. But then when you do have someone that's supportive, maybe they can't, just like you can't offer her everything that she may desire,
Mm-hmm.
but you're doing all you can. Maybe she can't offer you everything that you desire,
Yeah.
but she's doing all that she can.
Mm-hmm.
These things we have to be privy to make sure that we don't just allow to pass by. She's cooking every day, but we don't even tell her how good her meal is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She walks out that door and she's beautiful, but we don't say how beautiful she is.
Right.
She takes great care of the children, but we never say that you're a good mom.
Right.
We have a lot of complaints. We never speak to her soul, that thing that's going to give her life.
Right.
We speak to the exterior, but we never speak to her heart.
Mm-hmm.
We have to learn how to do that. We have to learn how to pay attention. Sometimes, because we get overwhelmed so much, we can overlook those things.
No,
It's
for
not
sure.
intentional.
Easily.
For sure.
It's not
Man.
intentional. What we have to do is we have to slow down
Right.
and really, because both parties speak from their heart. And then I'm going to say one thing about the man on this.
Mm-hmm.
Women speak from their heart a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We have to pay attention. We don't speak from our heart as much, but when we do, it's very key not to stump on that.
Yeah.
Because if that door closes, it's very hard
Yeah.
to open back up when it deals with a man in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
100%.
Because it's our makeup. I'm not saying that's every man, but in most cases, once you stump his ego, why should he open up? That's all we got.
Yeah.
So
for
why
sure.
would we open that back up to you? So
Right.
you have to be careful. I know women say, "Oh, you can't just say everything to a man." It's actually true.
Right.
You can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's actually a true statement. But what helps a man is if you boost him. Say this might need to be fixed, and he's not good at it,
Mm-hmm.
but you still come to like, baby, I know you're gonna take care of that. You always do a great job at fixing things. He's gonna figure it out
100%.
because we love to hear somebody tell us that we're doing a great job.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna figure it out
Yeah.
some kind of way to make that thing happen for you. And the more you give that, the more we'll respond to it.
100%.
Right.
For sure.
So incubation, these are
Yeah.
entrance points.
Mhm.
The next phase is prodromal. All right. Prodromal is the stage of infection where symptoms actually begin to show up.
Mm.
All right. So let me give an example. Symptoms that begin to show up. Say you're the wife and you're looking great. Whoever the husband is, would want to say, you know what, you're so beautiful. But because infection has already started to develop,
Mhm.
what he would want to say is not going to come out. He's not going to be saying, oh, you look wonderful, because the symptoms are starting to show up of infection.
Wow.
Mm.
So you're not wanting to be around each other as much. One person can come in and have a good day, and all of a sudden you're saying, man, I ain't even feeling them. I don't even know why.
Right.
No valid.
Man.
I don't even want to be around them right now. No intimacy, just because you don't feel like it, or it's not what you want to do, or it's not interesting. All of these things, these are symptoms
Yeah.
that begin to show up. But a lot of times what we do is just like a cold. A cold can have symptoms, but we'll ignore it until it gets bad.
Yeah.
So all these symptoms begin to show up, and we just let them go. No communication about them. Well, they'll be all right tomorrow. but not understanding that this thing is developing, and developing and developing, and you have to address it.
Yeah, give us that word again. You said for what is it called?
Prodromal.
Prodromal. No, yeah, y'all remember that?
Y'all heard that?
Education.
Listen,
say it again.
proper vocabulary. Prodromal.
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 Prodromo. Cuomo. Prodromo.
Promo.
You got a word association.
The Greek word for pro is,
Right.
And I think that is true essence to the situation. But right now, I feel like in our society, there's so many symptoms.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there's so
everything's a trigger.
Everything's a trigger. Like,
I don't think it's that. I think it's to go with the allegory. To go is that that people react to everything the same because they don't know what kind of sickness it is. They don't know if it's just a cold. They don't know if it's the flu. They don't know
COVID.
They just know it's sick.
Yeah.
No, that's valid.
Yes, I like that.
Yeah.
They don't know what it is.
I like that.
Because if I knew it was just a cold, maybe
I
I
wouldn't sweat
can
at
just
that
ignore
point.
it.
Yeah,
because it's going eventually
it's gonna go away.
Feel it no more. You know what I'm saying? If it's the flu, that's something that you got to work at. You know what I mean? If it's COVID, man, y'all need to go and lay down for 7 to 10 days. You know what I'm saying? To get your stuff together. And I think that because nobody really knows what it is, and we've been vaccinated so much with social media and all that other stuff, that we've forgotten about the stuff the small things that used to kill you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it's this little stuff, and we just like, but we react to all of it in a real big way because we don't know exactly what it is.
Social media promotes toxic relationships.
Yeah.
Like, it's like toxic relationships is just like a hit to people. Like, oh, this relationship didn't work out. This relationship didn't work out. Oh, look, let's Lori Harvey.
Yeah.
Like,
symptomatic
because of how many relationships she's been in. It's not maybe there's something toxic in her. It's just, she's living her best life, and people don't want to acknowledge she's in her 20s living her best. Or like Will and Jada. Will stuck with her because he doesn't believe in divorce. No, the relationship is toxic.
And what it is if I use this as you said, when it's really a cold or a flu, but you keep saying it's allergies.
Yeah.
No,
man. No, it's just allergies.
No. That's a fact because I know for me and how my relationship is, my relationship definitely goes through allergy moments because I know during the fall I get really depressed. So like, I really don't want to talk. I'm not really trying to be all holding and all this other stuff. And my wife will keep pushing me. You know what I mean? It'd be what it be, and I'd be pushing her away, but she knows it's not gonna last always. She know I'm just in my feelings, well, not in my feelings, but I'm feeling the type of way. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, give me a couple of weeks or whatever. Let me go to work. Let me get paid a couple times. I'm back at it, but like,
it's like, I got a cold. Let's put some emotional ginger ale on that.
Right, So Robitussin, gotta make it happen.
Get you some saltine crackers and some emotional ginger ale.
But like you said, with social media and all that other stuff, I think the biggest issue with it is that it has, and I've seen, and somebody put this on Facebook the other day. It was like the issue because somebody was like, I think our problem is that we got so liberal that we have forgotten about being conservative, and it's not just about it's not about politics. It's about how you are as a person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they live in free. No, like and this is where a lot of arguments go because a lot of people be like, well, you judging or this and the third, and it's like, I don't feel like I'm judging. My feelings is that you are doing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you're not respecting yourself in all the stuff that you're doing. And, you're going to get a lot of backlash about how people dress and all that. I could be who I want to be in this and the third. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
What's you can't be, and then you get mad because I treat you a certain type of way.
Yeah. For those that are just now tuning in, we're having a conversation about a book written by Dion Brinson called Infected Love. And we're dealing with the different stages of infection. We're currently in the, somebody say it for me. Prodromal.
Prodromal.
Did I'm about to say something to pro bono.
Pro bono.
But yeah, so you want to say, yeah.
Yes. The point that you brought out originally, concerning we don't know what to deal with or what we have, and I write about that in the book. A lot of times when we catch a cold, we go grab anything that we can find. I mean, it could be flu medicine, headache medicine. It doesn't make it's never addressing what it is that's wrong with us. We're trying to get temporary relief.
Yeah.
A lot of people and a lot of us are running to get temporary relief. This is why we run into different people, like you said in the beginning, to meet certain needs, thinking that's going to solve it, but it isn't. So what we need to do is we end up going to the doctor at the last minute. Right? When it's too bad. Yeah. And then they prescribe, what we need.
Right.
That's going to benefit us. We got to stop waiting to the last minute. We got to see these symptoms and understand I got to do something about it now.
Yeah.
Whether it's talking to the right person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You can't be it's unhealthy. Let me say it that way. To be a married man and you want to go and confide into another woman,
right?
I know y'all be like,
I call my mom. Come on with the edge. Sometimes it's my mama, though. You know what I'm saying?
So these things could be very, very unhealthy. All right. So what do we need to do? We need to make sure that we have someone that we can rely on that's going to be beneficial to us.
Yeah.
And the next stage when we get to, I'll let you know that as soon as you're ready to go.
Yeah. So, listen, the phone line is open 716-205-8136. You can call in with your thoughts.
Says passive aggressive.
Passive aggression.
You in the room?
Yeah, she in the room.
Welcome. Okay. She's an outside viewer. And she said, you be acting funny when you walk in the room.
Now and then. Don't
No, but she be watching from the outside, and she be.
We need them views, Sai.
No, it's okay. It's fine.
Come
now
on.
that I know you here, I can tell it. Okay, you got to talk to the right people. But no.
Don't
No,
do my sister.
the phone lines are open. You can call in and engage as well. Those that engage, we have a gift for you as well. No, y'all, everybody will want to call in, right? Y'all just listen to the conversation, and when we get towards the end, if you can identify the four, we'll do a thing. So pay attention. Just give you a quick heads up.
You done missed two.
You missed two.
You missed two. Yeah.
I'm giving it to you right now. This is how much love is.
First stage incubation.
Incubation, and the second one is
Prodromo.
That's the one that you really got to remember.
Tyra said,
write that one
friend
down.
be trying to filter when I tap in. Oh, so she said she don't want you to filter.
Say less. Filter. Frank gone. No. So as we discussed this conversation today, and I pray that this is helping those who are listening and tapping in, because and it sounds crazy, but there's a goal for healthy relationships.
100%.
But if you don't know how to get healthy, you don't know how to address or deal with these components, because sometimes what we do, we just wing it. And when we're winging it, we cause more damage than we do when we have a real plan of action. One thing that I say to my father all the time is like, what's the plan? What's the plan of action? Like, where we trying to get to? And that's something that we talked about even in class last night, because your relationships affect you.
Yeah.
It affects your business. It affects how you execute. It affects this sounds crazy. It affects how you deal with God in your relationship, because you will put on a front in front of the people.
Oh yeah.
While hurting and dying, while preaching and prophesying, trying to do all these things, but you haven't dealt with the infections and this phase called prodromo. Prodromo. Listen, y'all getting these notes, but you're ready to get into there's another part to it.
Yes, third phase.
So what is it called?
It's the third phase. It's called invasive.
Invasive. I can do
Okay.
That one. Invasive.
Yeah.
All right. So invasive is actually a bad part. So if anything, once you feel those symptoms, you want to handle things there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Invasive is the part where the infection actually takes over completely.
Wow.
All right. And if you're not careful, it's the point of no return.
Mm.
All right. So I'm gonna give you an example.
Wow.
My dad in Atlanta, this was some years ago. I remember my mom calling us and saying that he was in the hospital, and they said that he's talking out of his head. You know, it didn't make sense. He couldn't understand. Nobody could understand him because it was gibberish.
Yeah.
And the doctors had to come, and his fever was real high, and the doctors came in, and for my mom and them said for a few hours, nobody knew what he was talking about. They was trying to understand him. He said that, well, the doctors came in, got his fever down, found out what was going on with him. He had an infection.
Wow.
Fever was all the way up. And once they got his fever down and gave him some medicine, within a couple hours, he was able to talk regular again. All right. Infection. First of all, if your fever goes so high, all this stuff messes with your brain.
Yeah.
All right. And things that he wanted to say. And when you talk to him, he says, I knew what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
He says, I thought I was saying it, but everybody was looking at me confused. And he says, I was getting so frustrated because nobody understood what I was saying.
Wow.
How many of you are allowing your trauma or your symptoms or your problems to take over you until when the person that you actually love, you would normally say that you love them, but because you're so upset, because you have let things fester so long, when you would say, I love you, it's coming out, I can't stand you. When you know that she's beautiful and you're not even trying to tell her that you want to. Have you ever been that way? You want to say something to somebody, but it don't come out the way you wanted to say it.
Only when it's something negative.
So these things begin to take over you. This is the stage infidelity steps in. This is the stage where separation steps in. This is where divorce steps in. Because at this point, it has taken up over so much. Say for instance, a man or a woman who never receives any type of appreciation in the home, but they have been leaving home and getting so much appreciation outside the home. And it's been going like that for years and years. If that person isn't strong enough, this is where they fall. This is where they give into whatever's been working on them. All right. You have to make sure that you are doing your part together. And it's going to take effective communication, not just communicating, but effective communication.
For sure.
All right. And active listening, not just listening, active listening. Active listening is hearing and then doing what it is that person is saying to you. A lot of us say, oh, I'm listening, but we do nothing of what that individual is saying. So there's no change.
Right.
You want a better relationship, but you're never doing what it takes to have a better relationship.
Right.
So that's like a lot of us, or some of us. We go to the doctor give us the right prescription, and we come home, we don't take the medicine on time. We skip days of taking our medicine and still want the results of healing, but not really ready to go through what it takes in order to get it. Invasive.
That's deep.
This is the part that you don't want to get to because it can destroy you. You're not going to say what you want to say.
Yeah.
Your emotions are going to be off. Think about it. Think about how frustrating that was for my dad to be able to know what you're saying, but nobody else can't understand you. When you get frustrated.
Yeah.
You know what you're trying to tell that individual, but it ain't coming out right.
Valid.
Right?
Yeah, that's
deep.
That's okay.
No, that's deep.
You out here helping marriages.
And I want you to know that.
There's so many hearts going off on this screen.
No, 100%.
I think that not only helping just those who are already in marriage, but those who are going into relationships or want to, or even people who are reevaluating, like, I've been in this relationship, where are we? Are we? I don't want to give up the answers. Are we in phase 1, 2, or 3? Right. Where we at? And I want to just pause here for a minute. So for the first person who's listening, who can comment, I should make y'all call in. Make the first person to call in and can name the first 3 phases. We have a book for you by the author.
The second one.
Give
them the second one, because you don't want to give out if they get them correct. You don't want nobody else. You don't want nobody else to call in and be able to get the same answer. So categorize it.
Huh?
No, categorize. You gotta give them one instead of
all 3. I'm on the pressure on
y'all. or mix them up and have them recite them back to you. What was phase 4? What was phase 2? What was phase 3?
Yes, we only got 3. So just,
when we get there.
Yeah. All right. So for right now, I'll go with the original thought. Call in 716-205-8136 and give me the name to all three phases if you know them. I'm praying for you.
Right. Now, on invasive. Oh man. All I can think of, because so I watch a lot of anime.
Yeah.
And this is one anime which it teach you about the body and how it works. And I was like, man. And my daughter had told me once, like her, like at school, like they was playing it in science once. I was like,
yeah,
how we've changed since I was a kid, and everybody used to dog you out for it. But when you get an infection, you know, your body don't know, like you said before, you know, your body don't know at first, and then out of nowhere, you know, your white blood cells start slowly ticking it up, you know what I mean, which causes you to have a fever, and you know, and things like that. And then like when we get to this phase, though, you know, they've been fighting for so long, and you're not creating enough to fight it back, and it's spreading fast now.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so now what is you gonna do? Like you said before, you know, we always take forever to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
To come and fix it. You know what I mean? So like this could have been, we could have met this right at the door. It's like cancer. You know what I mean? If you catch cancer early, you can probably get rid of cancer.
Yeah.
But if you catch cancer late, cancer already got you now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I don't think I've ever been in a
people skip steps can go from the first step to the third step, or do you feel like it's a full progression?
It's a full progression.
Yeah.
You're not gonna skip a step. What happens is it's just we ignore the steps, or we ignore signs, or which happens a lot. We go grab somebody that's already in stage 3. That's
no, that's deep.
We see the signs right up front, but a lot of us think we are the doctor, so we can heal that individual. You need to know that you can't heal someone's emotion.
Yeah.
Facts.
They have to go through that, which is going to be the next stage we talk about. They have to go through that themselves.
Yes.
But what a lot of people are doing is that we're grabbing somebody that's toe up already.
Yeah.
And then you trying to have a successful relationship off of all that, you know, baggage that they came out of. You know, I don't care if it's trauma from childhood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. Have you ever been someone that has been traumatized from childhood and has never been healed? Mm-hmm. That's tough.
Now I got a question. So let's paint this scenario. So there is childhood trauma for my partner. That sounds like doesn't sound like you special. I'll get out of that. But now you guys are married, and they don't identify that it was trauma at they didn't know it. But now you're in the spiritual journey and you're dealing with it. How does that really affect the relationship? I'm not sure what I'm asking. I guess more so
100%.
Like, hey, we got together. We thought we were good. We were great. As we developed and we realized, oh, there's some components in my life that was traumatic for me that I didn't know. But now that I know it, now it explains why I do 1, 2, and 3. But how do you address that without being frustrated, without causing additional infections, if that makes sense?
So in the book, I talk about scars.
Mm-hmm.
All right. There are some scars that heal.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I got cut when I was little, tried to shave. So it's a scar on the side of my cheek. But when I rub against it, I don't feel nothing.
Yeah.
Right. But there are some scars that heal over the top, right? But they're not completely healed underneath. Yeah. And if you rub them, they still hurt.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what happened in relationships.
Oh, yeah.
You know, these are things that trigger once there's some type of something that relates to it, and then it exposes itself. If you're married, then you have to learn how to work through it.
Yeah.
One of the first things I would say is that there would need some professional help. Would help. We gonna pray automatically.
Yeah.
You know, we do a lot of praying.
Yeah.
But prayer doesn't pull you through everything.
Right.
I know we want to say it does.
Yeah.
You know, prayer is strong. So I know folk we're looking at like, man, you on your way to no, prayer doesn't push you through everything. We need help. God established all these things because he knew it was necessary.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So
I'm gonna pause because you said that, and
ahead.
I'm just add some weight for my Bible people out here. One thing that we talked about is ideally we're trying to be like Jesus. And one thing that we call him is a wonderful counselor.
Yeah.
But in God's infinite wisdom, he set people up who are designed to help. No, valid to be counselors to pull you through. For those who are like, oh my God, Pastor Dion, I don't know about that. It's in the word.
Right. But that's the one thing I never understood in church in general. That we'll tell somebody, take your blood pressure medicine, take your high cholesterol medicine, take the medicine that you need for the natural stuff, but we don't promote mental health and going to therapy.
Yeah.
Like it's still a form of medication. It's still a form of treatment. And I think like a lot of it, they're like, oh, we can just pray it away. Everything isn't.
And just to be not to dive off too much you understand the way that we were brought up culturally affects that as well. And also that there's been certain things that's been attached to us culture that we don't really trust y'all all the way. So there's ideas here. Well, you know what? They've been giving us blankets we shouldn't have. They've been giving us stuff like that. So it's like a disdain when it comes down to medically, but also it's like, hey, we really can't afford what you're talking about.
Right.
So we got the young that they become we got to go. We got to call on the God that we know to get us through. And then and some of that culturally makes this fusion hard just in the buildup of what we have. I don't want to get off. I don't want to get too far off, but I'm going to a place, I guess. And I realized that as our church, even culturally, we set up our paradigm in the Black church of who's like, who's head, who's first, and these things. And we try to navigate that. Right. But I pray that the church is open and the people are open to the fact that counselors and therapy is important. Yeah. It plays a role. There are people, like I said before, even get back into the conversation, who are designed to help you navigate the mind, the psychological. So okay, help me somebody. Side of things, and I get it because the aspect of prayer got you. You got to speak some things. You got to declare some things. You got to ask God for some things. But there's a faith to believe that it's going to work. But there's a work that's required.
Yeah. Right.
And I think that sometimes we are overlooking the work that's required. And it's like, God, I want you to come down here and come see about me. There's a work required. Fact. And I think even as you talk relationships, there's a work required.
100%.
And I think that sometimes we get with somebody, you find a wife, you get favored. And you do. But read the book in its entirety, because some connections that you had some trauma to them. Yeah. That was like, now, I don't want to get to. I got to get off sometimes. Okay, we will get back. Because when I look at the King Solomon and writing the Proverbs and talks about the virtuous woman, I mean, he came across somebody and the value that she had was this. But he also writes about women who aren't holding this value. Right. So that lets me know that through his relationships, he found out there's some things happening here that some are good and some are bad. Yeah. And he wrote with the wisdom of his experiences to help us to be like, all right, now, a wise person to listen to the counselor. Yeah.
No fact.
Don't listen to wisdom. That's the thing. Like, I glean from people who's been married for 30, 40 years. Because I'm gonna ask you how you did it. Like, how? Looking at this person when you want to choke them. How did you make it 30, 40 years? My grandmother used to make a joke. She was like, well, he worked 8 of them hours. So, but she talked, because he had Alzheimer's. Mm-hmm. And then she got it. And so she was talking about how she had to locate her husband because he took the car keys and he was driving on the expressway with Alzheimer's and stuff like that. But she was like, it was hard work. And all the times I didn't feel the love, but I felt like I committed myself. So if I got to spend all day trying to find out that you on a 33 going 20 miles an hour, I'm going to do that. But a lot of people, I would say a little bit younger than us, because I'm 40, don't really glean. We don't talk to people that's been married 30, 40, 50 years. But all these, it was different because he worked in the factory for 12 hours.
But it's also generation.
We talk to people and we decide that we don't want to work hard.
Or work as hard as they did. That's a valid point. And it's a generational thing. Grandma was taught to be a housewife. Now they teaching to be thoughts and independent women and all this negative.
I can give you that, but I don't know, because I can't blame all the music and all that.
No, I'm not saying the music. I'm saying by parents. Yeah. Mothers are literally letting their daughters listen to this music that are
trying to go on party with you. And it's like,
right. You get what I'm saying? That's a problem.
Well, also the independent women factor came in with having to be independent, where
No. That came in when they got rid of they brought the welfare system in, and she thought it was better to get rid of the man because she wanted some extra assistance.
Jail.
Yeah.
Even in that mentality, and even in that space, it never stopped that independent woman being a woman. That never stopped her from doing whatever she had to do as far as her house go, as far as her kids go.
No, that's valid.
Her attitude.
Valid. But it also changed to what she did for her man as well.
That's why I said her attitude.
It shifts quickly.
Because stage 4 will be something crazy.
Right. No, fact.
If this is just the invasive phase.
We got some comments.
Let's get to those comments.
Vanessa said, invasive is a terrible stage that results in bitter divorce.
Mm-hmm.
That's valid. Wayne says, and mental health treatment needs to be talked about in our community. Yeah. Vanessa doubled back and said, everything does not line up just through prayer. Counseling is needed in lots of situations along with prayer. It takes both to agree to work through, not just one side.
Yeah, for 100%. sure. Yes. This conversation is getting ready to go.
That's what I said.
But I guess the thing right now, like I said, we talked about dealing with the symptoms of a thing. And when y'all talk about, big mamas and the marriages before, there was a greater objective to make sure that this was working. But also there's components to that storyline where there's certain things that just wasn't addressed either.
Facts.
So then you find grandma upstairs in her room, but granddad now in the living room all the time, right? And they not sleeping together.
Mm-hmm.
They're functioning, but it's like together we in two different worlds, really. Yeah. But we too old now to be out here trying.
But that's
to
why I
stuff.
said the change was the commitment of it all. Nobody wants to work hard to be committed anymore. Even my parents, they will go years without talking to each other. Okay. They will pay all the bills, take care of all the kids. Because I was sitting there, I didn't really notice all like that because they talking to me. But they will not talk to each other for a while. You know what I mean? Over something, but it never stopped them from being committed. And I think we at a point where nobody really wants to be committed.
Nobody cares about
commitment. Comes at a cost.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're willing to pay.
Facts.
But also commitment comes with the self-discovery side of things before you get invested into it.
Yes.
Are you committed to yourself, number one, before you commit to me? But are you committed to dealing with your situations before we come together? For those of us who are already tied in, we just gotta work it out. Okay. Prayer, counseling, the Holy Ghost.
Right.
And
before you make that step.
That step, are you committed to yourself?
Facts.
Are you committed to God's plan for your life? Are you committed? Commitment is a whole nother.
No, facts, because we find ourselves doing things because other people like them.
Yeah.
We have a group of friends, right? And you're the only friend who doesn't like to go out. But because your friends go out and you want to be a part of your friendship, you go out and you succumb to this environment that you really don't like. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You do things that you normally wouldn't do based off of other people's.
So we're getting ready to get ourselves into the fourth phase. Now I'm going to give you a reminder of the first three phases because at the end I'm going to just go ahead and get a comment. First phase being First phase being incubation. Second phase being prodromal.
Somoso. Yeah.
And the third phase being invasive.
Yes.
So remember these phases because it's going to make sense at the end. We got a book for somebody, so just write them down. Google it. Don't ask me no questions. Google it. But let's get into the fourth phase of an infected love.
The fourth phase is the convalescent phase. All right. The fourth phase, we actually talk about healing. This is a good phase, but through healing is that since we're talking about relationships, understanding that all relationships aren't going to work.
Facts. Right? Man.
I know we want to say that they are. You do everything that you can to go through the process of making sure everything stays together. But through the convalescent stage, healing takes place. That can be healing for your relationship. If that relationship doesn't work, how do you heal for you?
Yeah.
All right. Your emotions, discovering what's best for you, what's best for that relationship. A lot of times when people come out of relationships, they jump right into another one. All right, and so they're still going to run into pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Unless they take that time to heal and discover really who they are.
Yeah.
What is it that they need? That way they can be healthy for someone else, because it's unfair carrying baggage. All right.
Yeah.
You can never love that person that you love fully.
Valid.
All right?
Absolutely.
So trust issues.
Mm-hmm.
All right. From the past, you bring that into this, you're never going to be able to trust that individual. So if you having trust issues, you can never love that individual at the level that they're supposed to be loved.
Oh, that's real.
Facts.
All right. Real. So convalescent is going through what needs to be taken. I don't care if it's time for yourself, which a lot of people can't stand. That's why they jump in relationships so much.
Yes.
They can't stand alone time.
That's it.
They
don't want to deal with self. You got to deal with yourself. Facts. Absolutely.
Right. But we'll rather have someone pacify us.
Yeah.
All right. To smooth some things over to make us feel good, because we don't like to deal with pain.
Right.
You know who I thought about? Lori Harvey.
No, valid.
No, and feel free to check your box and send it to her. Because my thing is, you make that statement, and I learned this in class in college, that there's a phase where the emotions are high. And some people just drive off that newness of it's a new relationship. It's us. It's the hormones, pheromones. It's all this bliss and stuff. Right. Everything is work out, and then reality hits, and now that relationship is over because but you're on to the next because you're looking for that same feeling again. Right. And you think relationship is going to be that feeling always, and that's just not the reality.
But before Lori, it was a Holly Berry. Yeah. And the one thing that Holly Berry said that I was just kind of like, ma'am. Okay. She said, people ask me why I've had multiple relationships, multiple marriages. Oh, she can't be kept. And she said, who said I wanted to be? And they were like, so why did you enter into marriage? Because that's what I wanted to do at that moment. So you did want to be kept. She was like, no, I was being kept until I didn't want to be kept anymore. And then walked away. And so like this perpetual cycle, like I had a conversation with a young guy, and he poor young man, he thought I was in my 20s, so he was trying to step to me, and I'm like, sir, no, I'm 40. I could be your mama. But he was like, how long have you been single? And I said to him, I was like, I've been single for 12 years. And he was like, why? And I said, because I had to work on me. I had to find what was wrong with me, why I was so toxic, why I thank God for my brothers, because I said before, it taught me how to talk to men. My brothers are tough, but they're sensitive. And it was like, dude, you said this to me and it really hurt. I was like, I had to learn how to talk to men. I had to learn how to know that it's okay to let a guy love me and then answer the call spiritually and navigating who I was spiritually. And I said, so I don't regret being single for 12 years because now the person I am now can walk into a healthy relationship where a lot of women is like, something wrong with you if you're not dating for 12 years. No, I've been perfectly content because I had to heal. I would have bled out on my next relationship, or I would have talked to him to the wrong way where he might have wanted to snap on me like, snap. You ain't gonna talk to me like that. And we fail to understand that sometimes women's mouths can break a man. And then you wonder why you can't remain in a relationship. It's like, because you haven't learned to talk to him. And then when he snap on you, not to say hit, we don't promote hitting. But if he be like, yo, I'm done with you. Well, what did I do? No, it was your mouth. And that was one thing that I had to learn was how to talk to a man, even when I'm upset, when I'm frustrated, and not be so raw and like just doggy with it and be like,
I had to deal with myself for 2 years. The instructions of the other prophet. That's crazy. Because I was in some situations, and she said to me, the Lord said, if you keep yourself for the next 2 years, and don't engage in those foul things, as many God, that God would then reveal your wife. It literally had to deal with myself. And all right, Frank, where you at? Really, where you going? And really keep myself. So I think that this is a very key component to have to deal with yourself. And I think too, and I'll say this as a husband, because if you know the story, my wife and I got together, but when the prophet prophesied to her, he said, what you're running from is what you're running to is better than where you're running from. I'm paraphrasing. But God informed me that there's going to be a season where there's self-dealing of self. And that I would have to I would have to be patient during that time, even as a husband. And I'm not saying that that's a task for everybody, but you have to know your relation with God and your responsibility, but there's self-dealing. And I think I put on Facebook yesterday, like your progress or your lack of advancement isn't my fault.
Right.
You have to deal with you have to talk like what's holding you up. We praying out whatever every stronghold, everything that's holding you is the hold up.
You are the strong.
You are you hold yourself down. You holding yourself back. It's your arm on you. And it's like, I want to get out of certain things, but God, but truly, are you willing to commit to yourself and what God is saying and go through that healing process? Come even independently beforehand.
Yeah.
Like with
100%.
yourself. Like, are you okay with you?
Yeah. Can you tolerate yourself?
That's the question.
If you can't tolerate yourself,
how you expect somebody else to want to be
my
around
wife,
you?
since she don't want to be all bold now. Last night she was like, "You got a problem with me?" I said, "Child, no, I got a problem with my own self. Okay, I got a problem with me. Okay, this is the challenge right now. Is with me." Dion, before we get ready to get out of here, let us know how we can get your book. Where is it located? How can we invest in you?
Sure. My book is on Amazon. You can get it at Amazon. Dion Brinson, my name or my title, Infected Love: Identifying and Eliminating Toxic Relationship Killers. You can always look me up on Facebook. I believe I have a link there also to order my book. You can email me at dionbrinson@gmail.com and I will respond to you. And those of you that know me, or if you ever see me in passing or anything, always carry books with me. And I want you to know tonight. Can I let them know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
This evening at 7 p.m. at 318 Broadway. That's Pastor Jackson Church, Abundant Harvest. I'm actually going to be doing a live seminar there this evening. And anybody can come. Everyone is welcome. It'll also be on Facebook Live for Dion Brinson Senior. So you can watch it there and participate. But I would love to see you, and we'll be giving away books there also and answering questions.
Yes. So now here y'all go. All right, before we get into our final thought and get out of here. If you can name, you ain't got to call in, you can write any comment. The first 4 people. Now I want y'all to understand that we are on several platforms. You may think you are the 4th, you may not be. But nevertheless,
call in.
I'm not been calling it. It's easy just to type where you're watching. If you are getting, I must have an infection. It must got something going on. If you can name all 4 stages of an infected love, we have a book for you. The first 4 people, all 4 stages. Type quick. If you know how to spell it, do your best.
Use your phonics.
Okay. Let the phone work for you. Okay. But the first 4 people to comment, all 4 stages. I should make it be grammatically correct.
You don't know how to spell it.
No. The first 4 people to comment, all 4 stages, we have a book for you. Just I'll reach out to you directly through Messenger, and we'll make arrangements for you to get it or come pick it up. Do the best you can. Listen, what's your final thought for the people before we get out of here? Anybody? So much.
Well, I can
watch the video twice.
Yeah. You can start.
All right. So I just want to let you know, if you are in a relationship that seems to be going through some challenges, it doesn't mean it's over. Love is beautiful. Mm-hmm. You got to remember, make sure your partner who you're with, you need to see them how you want them to be, not how their present situation is, because a lot of times Frank says something very important. Negative talking affects the relationship. Yeah. Negative things that you put inside an individual or that you throw towards their way can affect you, but that's on both sides. So show love, practice. You'd be like, well, I don't feel that way. Practice. Yeah. Believe it or not, practicing helps. Yeah. And if you practice long enough, it'll become a habit and it'll turn to your lifestyle. So practice loving one another more.
Yes. J Shari.
Stop being so toxic.
I'm looking at you, life coach J Shari.
Life coach J Shari
until she's LMHC. Yeah. Right. But no, just really stop feeding into the toxicity. Understand that toxic lifestyle is only going to produce other toxic things, and it's going to create a lifestyle of being unsuccessful. So deal with your toxicity, stop glorifying it, and become, a healed person, because healed people turn into whole people who can change people.
Yeah.
The only wisdom isn't knowing. You know nothing. You know, that's it. That's all.
All right. Okay.
Just even if it's just throughout this conversation, it's just it's two sides to all of it. You know what I mean? Just like a regular sickness, your relationship could be going through a sickness too, and it's important. Just like if you're sick for real, to go and get help for your problems. If I learned nothing today, I learned that we all have the problem and catch it before it affects.
My word of wisdom is do not be. This is not a time to be in denial. Be blatant, be honest, be true. Because sometimes we are projecting things and we begin to believe what we've been projecting and not tapping into the reality of what is. Do you love her? Absolutely. Do you love him? For sure. You want to make sure that it's just a healthy love. As you see the symptoms, have that conversation, even if it's awkward. And to the man, I understand. If it's gonna shake the house, you just got to go ahead and shake it. I'd rather you shake the house than it fall apart and be dismantled.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we don't have certain conversations because we don't want to deal with the attitude, the chain of reaction that comes along with addressing this. Number two, how you address it makes a difference as well. You can't yell and scream at everything. You can't be slick talking everything. Hey, I'm gonna say this just to a married couple. I'm just gonna talk to you real quick, okay? For those who are married, once again, this is for those who are married. Again, this is for those who are married. You know, after a good moment of intimacy, is a great time to have a smooth conversation. It sounds crazy, right? You're like, Frank. I'm gonna tell you why. Because now
I've done it.
So you got to hit. I can get out of that. That's gonna be for another show. Okay.
Congratulations to Vanessa Bryant.
Yeah.
First comment. Yeah.
I deleted it. But
you got it. Sweet.
But you got it.
Congratulations.
So here's the rules are. If you can identify the 4 stages of infected love, we got a book for you. Those who will watch this broadcast later on today, identify the 4 stages of infected love, and I have a book for you. It happened. You got interested in today. Don't come in here talking about next week. I watched the show and I put it on there. No, you got to the end of the day. Listen, it's been good. It's been right. Dion, thank you for coming in. I appreciate you, sir.
Yeah.
I'm excited to dive into the book, even myself, because we all need it as we're growing, especially this generation.
You was in my lane, 100%.
Even while we're in the the lane for where I was going. We want marriage. We want to prosper. We want to do well, and sometimes we don't know exactly how to get there.
Yeah,
and I think that this book will be a great guide. So listen, make sure y'all guys buy the book, tap into it. If you send me the link, I can put it on our app as well.
Okay.
The link to Amazon, put it on the app, people can access it as well. It's going down. Friday 716 is Big Frank in the morning. The crew was here today with the full table. Appreciate that. Stay tapped in. Coming up next is going to be Fatima Fridays right here on Fire. 716.